Hey guys, Khraze here, and today let's take a look at the best methods that you can use in order to reach the maximum power level cap in Marvel's Avengers. These methods are going to work both for fresh players, for players who already have characters at the maximum level, and for those who want to rank up their other heroes that might still be low level. So if you enjoyed this video at any point, a thumbs up on it would be super awesome, and let's jump right into it. Okay, so here are a few things that you should know beforehand. First of all, if you're still at the low level, stop wasting any more resources on upgrading that low level gear. The reason for that is really simple: you're gonna end up replacing it anyway, and second of all, you're going to need all of the crafting mats that you can get your hands on in order to invest that into your high-end gear in the end game. So keep all of that for then. Second of all, there are two power level caps in Marvel's Avengers that you need to pay attention to. The first one is the soft cap of 130, and the second one is the hard cap of 150. Once you reach the soft cap of 130, that is the maximum you're going to see on any gear that drops, which means that even if you're 150, you aren't going to see items higher than power level 130 currently in the game. From that point on, if you want to reach the hard cap of 150, you are going to have to manually upgrade your way to it. You're gonna do that in two ways. First, you're going to do that by upgrading your regular gear up to 140, which is the maximum you can get, and the last 10 levels you're gonna get by simply upgrading your major artifacts by another 10 points, and that is going to bring you to that power level cap right there. But with these out of the way, let's talk about the farming methods, and I'm gonna start with one that not just provides power level increase, but it's also one of the best farming methods in the game to get rank 50 while also increasing your power level on the way. Like, for example, the downside of the 2-hour method that I posted yesterday was that you would reach rank 50 without having a big power level, so this is going to fix that with just a little bit additional time on top, and that is by completing iconic missions, and not just any iconic missions, the first ones in the chains and the ones that actually guaranteed at least an epic reward over there. So most of the people sleep on these ones. They are amazing, just a little bit longer than the 2-hour farming method. They take about 3.5 minutes per level, but you never have to worry about that power level ever again because you're constantly getting those items on top, and not just that, it's going to give you a much bigger power level boost even compared to vaults. So let me explain. So you're gonna see that most of the characters have at least a couple of these iconic missions. The first one is the easiest. It takes roughly 10 minutes to complete. I think that is the maximum that you're going to need, but most important, it lists a guarantee reward, usually an epic, sometimes a rare, but mostly it is an epic. The best thing about this is the fact that you're gonna get power level bumps of up to 10 levels compared to just 4 that you might get from Hives and from vaults. So this is going to be the best early one that you might want to use before you reach the maximum power level cap of 130, and from that point on we're gonna use the next ones, which brings us to the next point on the list, and that is complete the Reigning Supreme mission chain. This is the first one in your objectives menu, the one that I actually neglected the most, but this is going to open up literally every single bit of endgame content that you will have once you reach the maximum level. This includes all of those mission chains that open up on top, like the ones for the Hives, for the other challenges. They usually provide guaranteed legendaries too, so you might want to hold them for this point, but most important, later in this mission chain in the Reigning Supreme, you're also going to see these rewards, which are guaranteed exotic major artifacts on top of the ones that you already have, so you are definitely going to want to go ahead and do these first before everything else. From this point on, we have a few options, and you're going to actually want to alternate between these, but I'm gonna start things off with the one that is most relaxing, also most boring, but it's also the easiest since you don't have to fight anything, and that is by doing those vaults that we kept mentioning in the past. So in the game there are 3 vaults in total. We know about the snowy tundra, but then there's also a desert and a forest one. There's even an elite version of these vaults, but they don't really change anything in terms of rewards from the chests, and the only thing that actually influences that is playing on challenge 4, so that's the only variable you have to keep in mind. So go into any of these vaults and play on challenge 4 and unlock all of these chests that you might find around. It goes without saying that unlocking these is done through that Stark Realities mission, though I will say that I've discovered a few other locations you can unlock these vaults from, and once you have completed that challenge and have unlocked the other vaults, there's a random chance that one or the other will be unlocked, so only one of the three will be unlocked, but it's not always going to be the snowy tundra once you have discovered the rest. This brings us to the next point, and likely the activity that you're going to do the most in the very end of the game, especially once you get a proper party setup and even more so a hero setup that is really powerful and has enough survivability. And these are the Hives, and to be more specific, the Elite Hives. And these are basically the pinnacle of endgame content that you can expect from Marvel's Avengers. It basically puts you all up against the highest of high-end enemies in the game, which also makes them so desirable because you're fighting so many of these high-end enemies. They have the highest and best chances to drop the best loot out there. Even more so, go with something that guarantees a legendary reward at the end of them, like for example this week's Evil Reborn Elite Hive, which lists something like that. You can also play it on the lowest difficulty, you're still probably going to get it, but on the highest difficulty you're going to have increased chances for those loot drops. Outside of these we have a number of other options, so take a look at any mission that lists a yellow reward, which is going to be a legendary, since you cannot fail, you get that reward if you like it or not. And for that, go ahead and look again at those iconic missions, but this time at the last ones in the chain. They usually are a little bit longer, so they do take about 15 to 20 minutes, but they are also kind of like on the Hive level of difficulty and like mobs that kind of spawn there, so you can go in and farm these as a kind of alternative to Hives that is easier but also provides rewards much faster. But now that we are done with these, let's talk about the last few levels and how to reach that 150. And it's going to be very important to have enough crafting mats at the end of the game, which is why I recommended to not waste anything on gear that you're not going to eventually need and that's going to get replaced. There are several crafting mats in the game, but for the purpose of this video only a couple of them are actually important, or well, to be more specific, 3 of them are more important, as pretty much the rest of them can easily be gathered from pretty much anything, including from simply scrapping gear. But the ones that are actually important are the Polychoron, the upgrade modules, and the nanites to some extent, though you will still get quite a ton of these too. So outside of the first 2, all of the others can be salvaged from gear itself once you don't actually need it anymore. Now the Polychoron is only used in upgrading the major artifact, but since not only this cost grows exponentially with each level, but also since it's not very abundant to find it in, you're going to actually struggle quite a bit, especially in the first few days, to reach that maximum level with your major artifact. So plan in advance which one you're going to pick and stick with it, because you are going to have to refarm everything if you want to upgrade another one. But there are a few methods you can use daily to get quite a number of these. So the first one is by getting all of the 16 faction assignments. There are 2 factions with 8 assignments each per day, so that means 16 Polychoron in total from all of them. Then there's 3 rewarded from each of the villain sectors, so you have 2 per day with 6 Polychoron in total. Then there's the upgrade modules, another scarce resource that you're going to use to upgrade your actual gear, and because you use it to upgrade all of the gear, it is going to be consumed quite fast, but there are a few ways to get it quite fast too. The first one and the most straightforward is the treasure chests from the vaults. Again, they are the best, not just for the gear, but they also drop like 3 of these upgrade modules almost every chest that you're opening. Another one is as an end reward from Hives and villain sectors. Oftentimes you might see some of these listing actual upgrade modules as a guaranteed reward, but you don't get more than a handful of them anyway, so there's that. And by far the best one is going to be through these DNA chests that we've talked about in the past. Actually, you're getting 15 of these upgrade modules per each DNA chest, which is going to be way more than any other chest in the game. But to get the DNA keys, you can acquire these from villain sector missions. You can also get them from boss drops, but more important, from bosses, like humanoid bosses, like the ones that we had in campaign, including Taskmaster, Abomination, though I've also seen them dropping from the AIM robot and mothership bosses that are also as kind of like villain sectors on a daily basis too. So you kind of cover all bases with the Polychoron and the upgrade modules if you go in and just do those villain sectors daily. On a final note, I also want to talk about the minor artifacts. Yes, I'm covering them in a separate topic, but but basically since they kind of compete with gear from the same chest, they kind of seem to drop less often than gear since they only occupy 2 slots. So that's why you might not see yourself fully being upgraded, because you don't see these. So here are a few methods that you can use to guaranteed get some really awesome minor artifacts. The first one is by visiting those faction vendors, especially the gear vendors, because most of the time they will hold at least one epic artifact, so you can go ahead, buy it, and chances are it's going to be the best that you can get. But otherwise you can also complete these drop zones that list random ISOs as guaranteed rewards, and I specifically recommend the Exo Hydraulics and the Communication Nexus drop zones since they are the fastest. Basically ignore completely the entire wave, the first wave that you encounter, and just go in the second room where the main objective is, and then focus on completing that as fast as possible, be it killing enemies, destroying something of the facility. Just do that as fast as possible and you're going to be done with this in 3 minutes tops, and you are going to get that guaranteed minor artifact at the end of it. But this is it with farming and gearing up. I hope this proved useful for you guys. As always, if there's anything that I missed, let me know down below, but in the meantime also don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.